Everybody set? Well, good afternoon, everybody. We're happy to be here. We're here to talk about a new large-scale, long-term collaboration to investigate and prevent gun violence in Columbus and in Central Ohio. It's a partnership that has never been done at this scale before in Central Ohio. And I truly believe it is a game changer. We know generally that most violent crime is committed by the same small groups of people. They shoot up homes, they shoot up neighborhoods, they shoot up each other. And they make life miserable for people in their homes and the community. These are generally people who have been convicted of violent crimes before, sometimes many times. They can't legally, under current Ohio law, carry guns, but they do it anyway. They don't care about the law, and they don't care about who they hurt. But we all do. Those of us here today care about every single person living in Columbus and in Central Ohio, which is why we've come together to create a new investigative unit focused exclusively on fighting back against gun violence, those individuals who use guns in the commission of offenses. The new Central Ohio Crime Gun Intelligence Center, CJIC for short, is now up and running here within the Ohio Department of Public Safety. Although the office is considered law enforcement sensitive, we'll be providing media with this video after the event. This concept, which was originally developed by the ATF, puts law enforcement from various jurisdictions under one roof with one mission: to identify those responsible for gun violence and send them to prison so they can't hurt anyone else. The new Central Ohio Crime Gun Intelligence Center is made up of full-time investigators, intelligence analysts, and firearms examiners from the following departments: the Columbus Division of Police, the Ohio State Highway Patrol, the Ohio Narcotics Intelligence Center, the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation, and ATF. Several other agencies, including the Franklin County Sheriff's Office, Franklin County Prosecuting Attorney's Office, and U.S. Attorney's Office, are also supporting this initiative. This is an intensely collaborative effort, with these agents sharing much more than just office space. They're sharing intelligence, they're sharing leads and evidence analysis, all in real time to identify shooters first. They're combining their expertise, their technology, their manpower to zero in on the people who are shooting and killing others without remorse. They are together. And I just had the opportunity to take a look at it. I know Mayor Ginther is going to, after this is over. Being in the same room next to each other makes all the difference in the world. The National Integrated Ballistic Information Network, NIBIN, is the centerpiece of these investigations. NIBIN technology is just truly remarkable. I had the chance to look at this when I was the Attorney General. I've had the chance to, again, look at it today. It compares ballistic evidence from shell casings, allowing investigators to essentially map out a gun's criminal history, when it's been fired, and where. When crime scenes have the same gun in common, authorities can use that information, combined with other evidence like surveillance video, shot spotter data, and vehicle descriptions, to build a case and to identify who pulled the trigger at each offense. The Central Ohio CJIC started working cases shortly after the 4th of July this year, so we can give you some real examples of how this works. These cases are pending, and so we have to be very careful what we can say. Example number one. In June, someone fired shots into a home in Columbus. The gun wasn't recovered at the scene, but shell casings were. Investigators used NIBIN to make digital images of the shell casings, which were compared to other shell casings already in the NIBIN system. The NIBIN trace found the following: that in May of 2022, the gun was used to murder someone. In January of 2022, the gun was used to murder someone else. In August of 2021, the gun was used in a shooting. In December 2020, the gun was used in a shooting. In November 2020, someone used the gun to fire shots into a home and into a vehicle. Before that, shell casings from this gun were found in October 2020 at a shots fired scene. This is a lot of information, but it's information that intelligence analysts, investigators can use to pinpoint the person or people who've been using this gun. Example 2. Recently, authorities recovered a gun in connection with another ongoing investigation. The gun was test fired, and the shell casing images were uploaded to the NIBIN system. NIBIN tied that gun to not one, but 3 separate shooting incidents that all took place this year in a span of just 1 month. Law enforcement can now use these case connections to determine who's responsible. This is true of the next generation of intelligence-based policing. Here at the Central Ohio Crime Gun Intelligence Center, we have 2 brand new NIBIN machines dedicated to tracing ballistic evidence, not just for the Columbus Police Department, but for any agency in Central Ohio. Again, it's a regional crime gun intelligence center, so we encourage departments in Central Ohio to utilize it. Any agency in Central Ohio can submit their evidence here for analysis and case support, and they can do that for free. NIBIN technology is not new technology, but until recently, access has been extremely limited. Although some of our larger law enforcement agencies have their own NIBIN machines, we all know Ohio is a big state, and many, many departments do not. Last year, with support from the General Assembly, we awarded around $10 million in grant funding to both the Ohio State Highway Patrol and the Attorney General's Office, Bureau of Criminal Investigation, to bring more NIBIN machines to Ohio. So if you're a law enforcement agency that is not in Central Ohio, you do have other options. I think the map is showing that somewhere. You have this, if you look at the map, it kind of gives you an idea what we're doing now and what we're going to be doing. So in addition to the Ohio State Highway Patrol's 2 NIBIN machines here, they are also in the process of installing NIBIN machines in both Warren and Jackson to make it easier for agencies in these areas to submit evidence. These funds also allow BCI to go from 1 NIBIN machine to 6, 2 each at their crime labs in London, Richfield, and Bowling Green. The $10 million for this new technology is part of a total of around $250 million that we awarded to local law enforcement across Ohio to support localized violence reduction strategies and to recruit and retain officers, which is certainly those things are extremely important as well. As great as technology is, it can only enhance. It cannot replace old-fashioned police work. We have many talented investigators, we have analysts, we have firearm examiners working here. And although we can't know specifically what crimes these teams will prevent, we know with certainty that their work does, in fact, save lives. I just want to thank every single agency here today for recognizing the value of this collaboration and dedicating manpower to the cause. Mayor Ginther announced Columbus's plan for CJIC back in January. And I'm happy that we've been able to partner with him so we can offer services to the entire region. The mayor is a real leader in this. I congratulate him, and I'll now call on the mayor. Mayor?
Thank you, Governor, and very proud of the partnership with you and your team. I want to thank the ATF. This idea came from Director Dettelbach when we were together in January. This is something that has worked very well, that the ATF has helped to lead in places around the country. He thought this would be a great new tool, and what better place than Columbus? We're known here for our collaboration and partnership, and we thought if it worked well for economic development and growth and housing and workforce development, we should put that same regionalism to work, that same collaboration in fighting and reducing crime. And so to the U.S. Attorney, to the State Highway Patrol, I see Sheriff Baldwin here. I want to thank Chief Bryant and First Assistant Chief Potts. We'll hear from Deputy Chief Sagal in just a few minutes. It's great to be here today with our partners across the state and region to unveil this incredible new tool for law enforcement. The Crime Gun Intelligence Center is precisely what we need to further empower our officers to capture and prosecute those responsible for perpetuating gun violence in our communities. Earlier this year, as the governor mentioned, we announced that the city would be devoting $5 million to this project. Working alongside ATF Director Dettelbach and his team, we'll hear from one of his colleagues in just a moment as well. Many months to deploy innovative new solutions centered on reducing gun violence in Columbus and Central Ohio. One example was our use of the mobile Nibin van to process ballistic evidence more rapidly than we ever had before. We saw great results, which only strengthened our desire to expand our use of this new technology. It's why we enthusiastically threw our support behind this project. It's why we're so excited to see this day and this center to become a reality. The size and scale of our commitment should come as no surprise when you consider the fact that 90% of the homicides in the city of Columbus involve the use of a firearm. This startling statistic holds steady year after year. All of this is compounded by the sheer number of guns throughout our community in cities across this state and this country. Last year, Columbus police collected more than 3,300 firearms. Nearly 200 of them were assault-style weapons. So far this year, because of incredible work by the Division of Police and a record number of tips coming in from the community, CPD has already recovered more than 2,500 firearms. We're not even the end of September. The prevalence of guns on our streets is completely and totally unacceptable. We all must do more to change the status quo. This requires a collaborative effort. We're tapping into a broad range of experience and expertise. We're leveraging cutting-edge technologies that will enable us to better identify those committing these heinous crimes. We're doing the hard work that needs to be done to take these violent criminals, as well as those who enable them, into custody and put them behind bars. This is ultimately about accountability, connecting the guns being used to kill, maim, and commit crimes with the individuals who wield or peddle them in the first place. This is especially important, considering the violence we are seeing is being committed by an extremely small number of individuals. As the governor mentioned, in our case, less than 0.5% of the Columbus population. But that does not make this work any less urgent or complex. In some ways, it raises the stakes even further, because we know that we can move the needle on this issue if we can more quickly and effectively identify and apprehend the small number of folks who are behind the majority of the violence. Law enforcement, when equipped with the very best resources are at our disposal, will carry the bulk of the work. But they can't do it all alone, nor should they. We need the active involvement of the entire community, parents and families, friends and neighbors, business owners, faith leaders, teachers and coaches, everyone. And with partners spanning every branch and every level of government, and with new tools like the Crime Gun Intelligence Center coming online and already having a positive impact, I am confident that we will prevail. It's now my pleasure to introduce a great partner and leader of this project. Please welcome ATF Special Agent in Charge, Daryl McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the mayor said, my name is Daryl McCormick. I'm the Special Agent in Charge for ATF for the state of Ohio. It's a real honor for me to be here with my law enforcement partners, but I want to especially thank Governor DeWine, Mayor Ginther, and Attorney General Yost, because your support and provision of resources is the reason we're here today. To my partner law enforcement leaders, you and your teams made this vision come true. Creating regional crime gun intelligence centers across the nation is a top priority for the ATF and the Department of Justice. At the heart of the Crime Gun Intelligence Center is a commitment to use unbiased data and intelligence to focus criminal investigations on that very few number of people who are causing the carnage in our communities. Crime gun intelligence, or CGI as we call it, means following the crime gun, squeezing every piece of evidence and information out of a firearm that's used in a crime or seized by law enforcement, and fusing that information together with other evidence and information to develop investigative leads that will help us identify, apprehend, and prosecute shooters, their accomplices, and those who illegally provide them firearms. The concept of the Crime Gun Intelligence Center is this: a multi-agency, multifunctional center designed to maximize the use of crime gun intelligence and to focus solely on combating violent gun crime. This CGIC here has a robust intelligence section with numerous intel analysts. Every day, they reviewed NIBIN leads. Those are the leads coming in from the National Integrated Ballistic Information Network. They examine trace reports, firearms tracing, and have access to crime gun information from all the multiple partner agencies. This is why the partnership is so important. NIBIN, as we've talked about, is a key tool. And as the governor stated, NIBIN allows us, what we have is the agencies bring evidence to a NIBIN site, and we have two here in the city of Columbus, one at Columbus Division of Police and now one here. That evidence is entered into the NIBIN system, and that's where we make the comparison. And it tells us two things. It tells us when one crime scene is connected to another. That may be disparately different place around the city. It may be at a totally different time scene. It could be a year apart from each other. And then it tells us when we recover a gun, whether that gun is linked to a shooting incident. Firearms tracing is another vital tool. Tracing reveals the identity of the first person to purchase the firearm. This is real important in Central Ohio because 30% of the firearms recovered and traced by law enforcement have what we call a time to crime of less than 1 year. That means within 1 year of being purchased, they are recovered on the street involved in a crime. Taking these two tools and fusing the information that they reveal with information already collected is the essence of crime gun intelligence-led investigations. The CGIC also has a dedicated, robust investigative team to follow up on the leads generated by the intel team. This may mean that they lead or initiate investigations, or that they support other agencies or other units within the departments on their current investigations. So what makes the Crime Gun Intelligence Center unique? Well, there's really four things. First, it's the unprecedented collaboration in the form of total integration that you'll see in the CGIC with all the agencies working and sitting right next to each other. Second, unparalleled information sharing and robust intelligence support, which is key. This allows us to be intelligence-driven. Third, the cross-jurisdictional authorities derived from all the agencies that are present. And finally, the sole focus of targeting trigger pullers, the shooters in the community, and those who illegally supply them with firearms. So I'm honored to be followed by Deputy Chief Sagel of the Columbus Division of Police.
Good afternoon. Thank you to Governor DeWine, Mayor Ginther, Special Agent McCormick, and all of our partners at the local, state, and federal levels. Gun violence has unfortunately become an increasingly prevalent issue in the city of Columbus, directly impacting our families, our neighbors, and our communities. Columbus police officers are seeing this firsthand each day on the street. It is imperative that we take steps to address this problem now head on. One of the key advantages of this Crime Gun Intelligence Center is the ability to facilitate collaboration among various law enforcement agencies on the local, state, and federal levels. By sharing information and intelligence in real time, we can work together more effectively. This collaborative approach will enable Columbus Police to identify and apprehend individuals involved in illegal gun activities swiftly. We're already seeing results. In July, Columbus police officers responded to a shooting in Wedgwood where the victim had been shot in the head. Shell casings were recovered from the scene and were analyzed using NIBIN. Within days, Crime Gun Intelligence Center members were able to identify a suspect. Columbus police officers worked quickly to locate the suspect and get them off the streets, a violent offender, along with 2 other convicted felons. In the process, officers recovered 2 firearms, including one that was equipped with a fully automatic conversion device. The Crime Gun Intelligence Center is a crucial step forward in our fight against gun-related crimes. By leveraging technology, collaboration, and community engagement, we can make significant strides in reducing gun violence and ensuring Columbus is the safest big city in America. Thank you, and it's my pleasure to introduce Ohio State Highway Patrol Colonel Jones.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Governor DeWine, Mayor Ginther, Special Agent in Charge McCormick, Deputy Chief Sagal, Chief Deputy Minard, and Prosecutor Pearson. I'm honored to be here today as we discuss this important collaboration known as the Crime Gun Intelligence Center, or the CGIC. Not only is the CGIC important because of the collaboration of all these agencies, but also because it houses the National Integrated Ballistic Information Machine, or NIBIN. So I want to talk about NIBIN for just a minute and give you an explanation of what it is. I want to take a moment to share with you exactly what NIBIN is and how it assists law enforcement. NIBIN was established by the ATF in 1997 and is the only national network that allows for the capture and comparison of ballistic evidence. The system analyzes expended shell casings from firearms by conducting a microscopic examination of the tool marks left on the casing from the gun it was fired from. These tool marks are unique and create a fingerprint for the firearm. Once an analysis is taken, it compares it to millions of images from other NIBIN submissions in the system for matches and notifies all associated agencies when there is a match. This correlation information that is received allows agencies to work together on developing leads associated with crimes utilizing the same firearm. These correlations also assist law enforcement in determining which areas we need to focus efforts on to reduce violent crimes within communities. With respect to the patrol and our involvement, the patrol is honored to be involved in the everyday operations of the CGIC. And as you've heard here today, it's a collaborative effort, bringing law enforcement partners together to solve violent crime. The patrol has 2 dedicated intelligence analysts dedicated to the CGIC to assist the other agencies involved. The patrol has a trooper assigned with the task force as well. The patrol is also providing submission kits to rural law enforcement agencies so the CGIC can complete analysis for agencies across the state. And as the governor mentioned earlier, it's free of charge. We will continue to provide our uniformed criminal patrol, aviation, and investigative support to agencies needing assistance around the state in an effort, a collective effort, to reduce violent crimes. Again, I cannot emphasize enough how important the CGIC collaboration is to not only our communities, but also our partner agencies. The ability for all of us to work together to achieve expedited results, which in turn will make Central Ohio a safer place to work, live, and raise a family, is the goal. Thank you, and please welcome Chief Deputy Rick Menard from the Franklin County Sheriff's Office.
First of all, thank all of you for being here, coming here to hear about it, to get the word out to other agencies so that they know this technology and this partnership exists, and hopefully that will spread throughout the state. And I'd like to thank the ATF for their leadership in bringing the vision of the CGIC here to Central Ohio and making it available for all of the agencies in the region. Obviously, I'd like to thank the governor, DPS, the Attorney General's office, Columbus Division of Police, the Mayor's office, OSP, for their collaboration and their contribution to making this center what it is and what it's going to be in the future. On behalf of my boss, Sheriff Dallas Baldwin, we're pleased to be a part of the CJIC. And the CJIC, as you've heard from some of the other speakers here, it's going to knock down silos that have existed or continue sometimes to exist between local, state, and federal partners. And so bringing all of those partners under one roof to share information and to share resources is outstanding. You know, it's an intel hub, as you heard mentioned, evidence-based approach to connect incidents and cases in a more focused way for a better successful outcome as well. The collaborative work that certainly will help and to disrupt the pattern of shootings and prevent other shootings here in our community. And for us in particular at the Sheriff's Office, thank you, Governor, we were awarded some money here not too long ago to start an initiative, Covert, Central Ohio Violence Eradication Response Team. And so the CJIC works seamlessly with our efforts with Covert in terms of place-based investigations, but also that community outreach piece as well to connect people with resources to break this cycle as well. Just in the last couple of weeks, we've had 3 cases where we have connected to other existing cases, and I wish I could go into more depth and tell you all the great details, but I can't yet. But hopefully those cases will come to fruition here soon, and we'll take those guns and perpetrators off the street. One more example here. And so as has been mentioned here, historically, I've been in the business, at least investigations, for more than 20 years. And so what has happened in the past is evidence is collected, it's sent to, for the smaller agencies sometimes, sent to a lab, and because they're accepting evidence from all over the state or whatever, there's a lag time there in terms of weeks or months. And as you can tell, these guns are repeat offenders. And so by the time you get the results back, we're behind the 8 ball. We're 3 or 4 shootings behind trying to play catch up. And so the CJIC will help speed that up. And it's already doing that. And so for an example, right now for us, in terms of our work with the CJIC, from the time we respond to the scene, collect the evidence, not only collecting the casings, but we're also doing DNA swabs off of those guns as well. That's made possible through the CJIC. That gun is then test fired at our range or one of the partner agencies' ranges. Then there's an acquisition made in terms of comparisons over here at the CJIC. That used to take months. It's down to 1 hour. 1 hour. And so that's the power of bringing all of these great folks together and their willingness to contribute resources. So again, thank all of them, and thank you for being here.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Anthony Pearson from the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office. Today marks a significant milestone in our ongoing efforts to ensure the safety and security of our communities. We gather here today to celebrate the opening of the Crime Gun Intelligence Center, also known as CJIC, a powerful initiative designed to combat the scourge of gun-related crime that plagues our community. In a world where gun violence remains a pressing concern, this center symbolizes our commitment to protect our citizens and keep our communities safe. At the heart of CJIC is the relentless pursuit of gun criminals. It is here that our law enforcement agencies come together, pooling their collective resources and expertise to track, apprehend, and bring to justice those who would harm our communities with firearms. This coordinated approach is a testament to the power of unity in the face of adversity. But the CJIC is not just about apprehension. It's about prevention as well. By analyzing data, identifying trends, and sharing crucial information among law enforcement agencies, we aim to stop gun violence before it even happens. This proactive approach will save lives and help build safer, more resilient communities. Together with the dedication of our law enforcement officers and the support of our communities, we will make our streets safer and bring an end to the reign of gun criminals. And let this center send a message to the gun-toting criminals on the streets. You will not outsmart us. You will not outnumber us. You will not outwork us. But again, more importantly, due to the help of the CJIC and the center opening, you will not outsmart us. I want to thank specifically Governor DeWine and Mayor Ginther and all of our law enforcement community and partners in help opening this center. Because even if we have the most robust investigation in the world, it all means nothing if we don't have an effective, efficient prosecution. And the opening of the CJIC Center helps us with a more effective, smarter prosecution. Thank you. Now I'll pass it to Governor DeWine for questions.
Thank you very much. Just a couple additional things. As you can see, a number of departments are involved here. BCI is involved. The Attorney General, David Yost, could not be here today, but I want to thank him. His men and women who are embedded in this really make a huge, huge difference, and we appreciate what they do very much. Also, mention, I don't think I've mentioned it, but ONIC, we've talked a lot about in previous press conferences, is physically going to be moved right next to this unit. So once again, having people in close proximity to each other is just so very, very, very important. So happy to take any questions or, as I say, the tough ones.
Yeah, you talked about the very small number of people committing these violent gun crimes. Similarly, what is the percentage, if you know, let's say guns in Central Ohio or Columbus, whatever the jurisdiction, how many guns are being used in these violent crimes?
I don't know if anybody here can specifically answer that. I'll just talk in general. Every study that's been done confirms what the men and women who are out on the streets can tell us, and that is it's a small number of the criminal element that commits the violent crime. It's just a very, very small percentage, and they keep doing it time after time after time after time. So I don't know if anybody wants to take specific to that.
I'll just make one comment, is that from looking at the NIBIN acquisitions, we know that typically the last several months here in Central Ohio, 50% of all the evidence entered into the system produces a lead. So in other words, if we had 500 acquisitions of NIBIN evidence, either from test fires or cartridge casings taken from guns crime scenes here in the area, if we had 500 of them, almost 250 would result in a connection to one crime to another crime. So that just confirms the idea that the guns are being used more than one time, a lot of the time, and that one shooting is frequently connected to another, which I think is a clear indicator of what we said. As best as that it's a small number of people.
Well, just to follow up, since you can trace, you seem to indicate the gun to the purchaser, are the original purchasers typically attaining the gun legally or under disability? Where are these guns coming from?
When we trace a firearm, by the very nature of the fact that the purchaser purchased from a licensed dealer, they were lawful and able to purchase it. This gets down to straw purchasing, and it's what I think is a significant problem here. I will tell you that right now, here in this region this year, 10% of all the crime guns recovered and traced by law enforcement had a time to crime of 90 days or less. Means it left a gun store by somebody who could purchase it legally, and they transferred it to somebody who then used it in a crime and was recovered by police. That's a problem in my mind, because if, I think the mayor, someone spoke to the number, and it's like 2,500 guns taken by Columbus police so far this year, just Columbus police. 10% of those then, 250 firearms were purchased within 90 days of that recovery. I think that's an important lead for us to follow up on, and I think it's something we need to address.
Well,
Deputy Chief Sandoval, I know CPD has improved its solve rate for homicides. What do you think this center is going to do for that solve rate?
Well, I think Chief Deputy Minard pointed out, it just speeds up the process. It allows us to enter evidence into the systems much quicker than going through the formal lab process. The labs are still obviously important for all the actual scientific testing and things that they're able to do for the further prosecution. But what it does is with that timeliness, it allows us to start working on the leads a lot quicker so that we can be pointed in the right direction and move forward.
Let me just add one thing, kind of the big picture. We've made some real progress in the last few years, having more NIBIN machines out there. We've also had money go to local police departments so that they can better put that information in. The data that's sitting there in a property room does not help. And so while the focus today is on Columbus, it's also on Central Ohio. And I just want to make a plea again to those departments that are out there in Central Ohio, whether it's in Franklin County or outside Franklin County. If you go to a crime scene and you have these shells and you can't get them in, or you're not going to get them in, bring them in, and we will get them in. Look, the more data goes in, the better opportunity there is to solve crimes. Anybody else?
How does this play a role, or can someone expand more on how it plays a role in prevention? Because a lot of this is looking at evidence after a crime has already happened. So where does the prevention aspect of this come into play?
So obviously, if we're talking about guns being interconnected with other crimes, we're looking at the prevention of the next crime. So as these guns link to 7, 8, 9 different shootings, we obviously see a pattern there, right? And we know that there's going to be more associated shootings out of it. So again, when it comes to the timeliness and the collaboration, if we're able to identify these patterns quicker and then pick up on those patterns and then find that crime gun and then attach it to a suspect, take that suspect into custody, that's going to hopefully speed up our time of taking that violent offender off the street and get him into prosecution.
Okay, anybody else?
Yeah, many of these shooters appear to be quite young, which would suggest that their supply, if you will, is not static. So if you take, it's like we want to get these folks off the street. So you take one guy off the street who's maybe 21 years old. How do you break up this continual generation of folks willing to maybe step in and do that? I mean, it seems to me, is there an accompanying effort to, I don't know if it's gang culture or what it is, but how do you just not tread water on the number of people willing to do this?
So we have a lot of different initiatives going on in the city of Columbus. We run different programs that help provide tools and programs for either young people or young adults that are basically kind of that next up person. So what we do is we're constantly trying to identify people through different means, that we're maybe seeing them showing up at different, either whether it be crime scenes and they're not necessarily a victim or a suspect, but they just kind of seem to be showing up at some maybe not great places for them to be at. We try to identify those people using our intelligence analysts, our gang enforcement unit, and our criminal intelligence unit to try to see what patterns those people produce as well. And then what we do is we work with the CVR program to basically get them resources to try to put them on a path. That's another collaborative partnership. I mean, basically everybody standing up here is part of that partnership as well. And, we do different kinds of either whether it be one-on-one contacts with people like that, or whether it be group interventions. And we offer them resources. We offer them a path to success.
Thank you.
That's my thought. The questions would rather me just come up. So the redistricting meeting tomorrow, what prompted you to call that? Was there some development that occurred?
Well, it's time. It's time to do it. I think there's progress being made in discussions. I think that I'm optimistic that we'll be able to move forward tomorrow. We'll see. Well, there's almost a map, at least to start with. We're not quite there yet, but the House and the Senate going back and forth, but they're close. Republicans are close, and then we at least will have some place to start the process. So what we would hope is tomorrow that people have a map, introduce the map, get this thing rolling. I think once the issue of the map is dealt with, at least to start with, that the chairmanship problem will resolve itself as well. So we'll see. Thanks, everybody.